we got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football tonight, the Jets and the Dolphins. Tell us why, Joe. This spread line matters.
Yes, I like to refer to the Jets and Dolphins if they were a college football team. This would be the toilet bowl, Donnie. These two teams are horrific on so many levels. And we talked about bad is bad, and these teams are bad. But the problem is the sharp money has been on the Jets all week. How do we know this? Well, you got 60% of the tickets, 80% of the money have been on the Dolphins, and yet this line has not moved one bit yet. Still sitting at 2.5. And listen, you'd be very hard-pressed to find anybody here that thinks laying 2.5 with the Dolphins is somehow a value play, Donnie, especially since Tua 5-0 straight up, but only 3-2 against the number versus the Jets in his career. And the Dolphins and Tua are terrible in primetime games. They're 5-10 against the number in these spots. And when they're home in primetime, oh boy, Tua is awful. 1-3 straight up, 0-4 against the number. And maybe the best nugget here, Donnie, when two winless teams face off, going back to 2004 at this point, the underdog, 74, 41-5 against the number. Good for 64%. I'll be on the Jets and the sharp side.
And by the way, Joe was telling you previously about, watch out for what you see in September, which makes for an easy win, right? The Denver Broncos are minus 7.5-point favorite over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals absolutely stink. So why isn't it 17.5? What's the spread line here, Joe?
Yeah, so, I mean, it turns out no Joe Burrow and the Bengals are, quite honestly, a dumpster fire. Shocker. Oh, or are they, Donnie? Because Browning, yes, he got destroyed against the Vikings last week, but it's not like his teammates who were fumbling the ball all over the place were helping him either. And by the way, this is not his first rodeo. He was forced into the starting quarterback position back in 2023. 9 games he threw for close to 2,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. And given what we've seen from Denver, Donnie, so far, and how they just love to find ways to keep bad teams in games, this doesn't scream blowout by the home team. So we would assume Denver has this big, incredible home field advantage because while they're in the altitude. But the problem is they haven't been any good in these games. Since 2017, Denver 4-8 straight up, 3-8-1 against the number at home in night games. Wouldn't surprise me if the Bengals get late money in this game, but anything other than the Broncos in a teaser, you can't trust the Broncos laying more than a touchdown here, Donnie, in any way, shape, or form.
Monday Night Football doubleheader. It's what we do. We love football season. It's fantastic. Baseball tomorrow in the playoffs, but tonight we get the doubleheader, and it's set up perfectly for your boy. Why? 7:15 and 8:15. We're not waiting until 10:30. Bozo NBA schedule. We're playing these games side by side, and I love it. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Raineri, and we welcome in Tom Vecchio, the jack of all trades, here to talk some Monday Night Football. The NFL, Tommy, in full swing, man. Crazy day yesterday.
A crazy day yesterday. We have 2 games tonight. I'm not sure if they're going to be good, but there are 2 games tonight, so we can get into those. As you guys were talking about in the last segment, the injuries are piling up. Teams, and Donnie, to your point, teams that are just simply healthier, those are going to be the best teams. And even if they're not the actual best teams, they're just going to end up winning when it's all said and done.
Casualties all over the place. Maybe some casualties tonight. Let's take a look at game number 1. That's the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins offer that sort of mini bye for playing and getting a moral victory against the Buffalo Bills. They're going to take on the New York Jets. This line opened up around 3, but sits at 2.5 at most outlets here, Tom. 44.5 looks like the prevailing number on the total. How are we playing it? Justin Fields back under center for the Jets.
You know, the total seems a little bit light to me, considering that neither of these teams can play defense. No one can stop anyone. You know, the Jets are now healthier than they were over the past week and a half or so. And there's a 0% chance that I'm going to be laying points with the Dolphins. I think, and listen, I'm not excited to take points with the Jets, but if this were reversed and the Dolphins were on the road and they were getting 2.5 points, or they were getting 2.5 points, I would probably take the points with the Dolphins. I'm not laying 2.5 points with the Jets if they were at home. So the game's going to be what you make it. And, you know, when I turn things to a prop perspective, it immediately brings me to Justin Fields, and it's got to be under 8.5 rushing attempts. You just got him back. He should not have too many designed runs as he did in week 1 to put him under danger, because he's coming back from a concussion. Getting a few scrambles here or there, just naturally being pushed out of the pocket, sure. But having designed runs at a high volume is a wrong way to approach tonight's game for the Jets.
What about the, the Jets are going to run the ball, though. They're also not going to drop him back 30 times in this game and have him throw it around. So are there any of the running backs here on the Jets side, or maybe even Ollie Gordon on the other side?
Yeah, I don't mind Breece Hall. He was pretty solid against the Steelers. But if they do drop Fields back, I expect them to be very short A-dot passes, very low A-dot passes. So Breece Hall either rushing or Breece Hall rushing plus receiving is very easy. You don't have to have Fields in a 7-step drop going through multiple reads. It's like, hey, drop back, one read. Nope, get it right out to Breece Hall as your second option. So Breece Hall, rushing, receiving, totally on board with that. I think you could say the same thing about Devon Achane. And then, Ollie Gordon, he's a bigger back. I think they may use him around the goal line, and Devon Achane is going to be used inside the 20s. And then we're going to see Ollie Gordon closer to the goal line. And that may take away touchdowns from Achane.
Muggy tonight, Miami, 83 degrees at kickoff here. And also, if you were watching yesterday, they painted that field. It looks spectacular. I don't know if the Miami Dolphins are going to hold up to how good the field looks, but we'll find out a little bit later tonight. A 2.5-point favorite across most outlets right now for those Miami Dolphins. Game number 2 tonight, which is going to start at 8:15 in the Mile High City. Cincinnati's going to go with Browning again. They got hammered and embarrassed last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Bo Nix and the Broncos just looking to get another win. Their favorite, Tommy, -7.5 and a similar total to game number 1 at 44.5. It's a week-to-week league, as we like to say. Boy, that week couldn't have gone any worse for the Bengals last week.
And I don't know if this week's going to go much better. The 7.5 points is a lot. Yeah. Obviously, if you got a 6.5 or a 7, whatever it might be, that's obviously far more interesting to me. But a 7.5 is a lot. Part of me thinks that Jake Browning is better than what he showed last week. It is a very good defense that he played. Brian Flores from DC from the Vikings. But I'm not sure things are much easier this week. And, seeing Jamar Chase, seeing his number at 65.5 is a very, very light line for Jamar Chase, but he's likely going to be shadowed by Pat Surtain, so it's not going to be any easier for him. When I immediately turn to this game, the Broncos have to get back on track. They were a playoff team last year. I think the coaching advantage is clearly with the Broncos, and the Bengals defense is absolutely terrible. So I like 2 player props from the Broncos. That's going to be going to J.K. Dobbins over 64.5 yards. And go to Cortland Sutton over 65.5 yards. This is the spot for their offense to shine. The Bengals right now, they're sitting 24th in the league when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. We should be seeing that. Cortland Sutton is the guy in the passing offense. I know Troy Franklin has stepped up just a bit in terms of taking some target share away, but Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram, those guys should not be reasonably taking targets away from Cortland Sutton. I think they both have big nights.
Like it.
Mims has got the hip injury too. So does Troy Franklin, who's also, I think he's got the second most snaps of those receivers there, and he's the favorite target of Knicks. And if it's not Chase, should we be focusing on Higgins?
I think so, but a part of me thinks that the Bengals won't have more than 50 rushing yards combined. It is absolutely terrible. Seeing what Chase Brown, and it's not his fault, the offensive line is absolutely horrible. There's some stat that he's the first player since 1993 to have 40-plus carries and have 50 yards or whatever it is. He's averaging under 2 yards per carry. It's absolutely terrible. I don't mind Troy Franklin overall. I prefer Cortland Sutton just because the fact that he has an A-dot that's sitting over 14 yards. He can get downfield and he can get to 60 yards in 2, maybe 3 catches. Doesn't have to be a high-volume guy. T. Higgins is totally a fine option. I would actually look towards a T. Higgins before Jamar Chase, even though it's not the talent thing. Obviously, the Pat Surtain issue is a thing for me. So I would say T. Higgins, yes.
By the way, Tommy, let's do a little cheating right now. We talk some NFL action on Monday Night Football, but tomorrow, Major League Baseball is back in our lives with 4 games, which includes 3 in the afternoon, and you're going to be watching Center Stage 6:08 p.m. That's the Boston Red Sox coming to the Bronx to take on the New York Yankees as a favorite at a -132 price. How are we feeling about the playoffs right now for the wild card round?
Not excited. I already have a position on the Red Sox at +132 before the line moved. I'm expecting Crochet to start. I don't know where that line has dropped, but I saw it as low as +112 a little bit later last night. So I'm on the Red Sox money line, and I'm going to be on the Red Sox money line every single game. It is a pure emotional hedge. I will bet on the Red Sox. I will lose that bet every single day if that means the Yankees advance and the Red Sox lose. It could be the best of both worlds for me.
There you go. By the way, game number 2 already setting up there, Vecchio versus Rodon. I love playoff baseball. I love afternoon baseball. It's fantastic stuff to watch them. Philadelphia Phillies, I don't get to play till Saturday, so I can sit back and sort of relax, but also can take umbrage where the Mets getting knocked out of the playoffs got to be a laugh for a Yankee fan, and also the Major League Baseball with that stuff. Tom Vecchio, thanks for joining us this morning and bringing that energy. We'll talk to you soon. But for us, we're headed back to the NFL next. Doubleheader, Joe, tonight in NFL football. You know what I'd love, too? Come on, man. 7:15, 8:15. Old-timers like myself, we can't be staying up till 10 o'clock and watch a football game. Play them side by side. And also understand this. Was the NFL smarter to go like, I think we have to go side by side because these games might absolutely stink. So at least if one stinks, the other one might not stink. But if they both stink, at least you can have two games on at one time. Game number one, Joe, the Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. This line opened up around 3. It now sits at 2.5. Still is a favorite to the Miami Dolphins. If you look at the total in this game, opened up 44.5, still sits at 44.5. Tua Tagovailoa will be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and Justin Fields, off of a concussion, coming back into play for the Jets here. Tagovailoa, Fields, 44 to 45.5 as a total. What are the expectations tonight for you, Joe?
Again, Donnie, there is a clear pros versus Joes situation in this game here tonight. You've got nothing but tickets coming in on Miami at home with Tua, and obviously the Jets have not looked great. And this is a game that means, let's face it, the Jets as an organizational standpoint, Donnie, whether they win or lose this game, it's not, Aaron Glenn is not worried about his job. There is a clear path for the Jets from a cultural standpoint and everything else. So there's a lot of leeway here with the Jets. Miami? No. You lose this game here tonight, Miami, and it's probably over for Coach McDaniel there and company. And it should be anyway. We all believe it's, it's dead man walking here. And who can blame him? But the public loves Miami, and I don't think anything is redeemable. The Jets are finally healthy. The Jets can run the ball. The Dolphins can't. You got a 44.5 total here in a spot, and we can't get this thing to a field goal. And I don't think it's going to get to a field goal. And I think that's because the Jets alone time of possession, and the Jets are a much more cohesive group right now than what the Dolphins are. And you can't trust the Dolphins to do good things, even on a Monday night here. That entire organization is in disarray.
Yeah, losing 4 games in the month of September. One of these two football teams is going to do that. And also, like the city of Miami, like, hey, you know what? Just leave the Hurricanes at Hard Rock. Go to Lone Depot or go to FIU, Miami, like the Dolphins. Just stay out of things at this point. But they are the favorite tonight. And Tua Tagovailoa is passing props compared to Justin Fields. 236.5 is a live number for a passing prop for Tua. 186.5 is a live number for Justin Fields. The touchdown prop also listed at over 1.5 touchdown passes for both these guys, Joe. Just the juice a little bit different. Tua, minus 132. Justin Fields, plus 172. So let me just ask you this question. The expectations for you out of Justin Fields tonight are what?
Don't turn the ball over, period. Do not turn the ball over. Be a game manager. Do what you need to do. Don't make it, 186.5 yards tells you exactly what this is all about here. And I think that's it. They're going to pick your spots and let the power running game of the Jets do what other teams have done to the Dolphins. If you can't stop any and that defense has to be out on the field most of the game, good things will happen for the Jets here. There's only one guy on Miami that you have to worry about stopping, Donnie, and I think the Jets will do a pretty good job with that.
Touchdown scoring market tonight. Only one guy, Joe, minus money. That's Devon Achane here for the Miami Dolphins. After that's Tyreek Hill plus 115, Breece Hall plus 145, followed by Wilson and Waddle. If I was playing this game, because I always like the touchdown double up, typically with plus money, but I got to tell you, I would be relatively surprised if either Devon Achane or Breece Hall doesn't score a touchdown. So if I'm going for two of them, I'm just taking the two running backs, Joe. Minus 135, plus 145, and see what happens.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to go. I mean, listen, the HN, you got to figure both out of the backfield catching and rushing, not a bad look. But Breece Hall, to me, is the guy in the red zone that's going to get the opportunities here. So at plus money, I don't mind backing him either. He'll be the workhorse for this Jets team here tonight.
Denver Broncos 1-2, needing a victory here to try to keep pace with the other teams in the AFC. They're going to take on the Cincinnati Bengals, which They were 2-1. Hey, we're going to play Minnesota. Can we get a victory there? They got hammered. They still have a winning record, but heading into this game, they're not the favorites and by a wide shot. But by the way, opened up at 8.5 price point as a favorite towards the Broncos. Most outlets now, Joe, showing 7.5 across the board. That total, 44.5. Browning's going to get another start again, going up against Bo Nix. What are your feelings about the awful performance you saw last week from the Bengals? Can they at least improve and keep this game competitive?
Well, don't turn the ball over 5 times. That's a good start here. But the problem is, it's not Jake Browning. That's not the problem here. He's a capable backup quarterback and has shown that. The problem is the Bengals' offensive line, again, is in total shambles. They're going to be starting 2 rookies on the offensive line at the guard position here tonight. I mean, it's not good. And if it's one thing we know about Denver is defensively, they're going to own you in the trenches, which means that Cincinnati's not going to be able to run the ball, not that they could anyway, and Browning is going to be under total duress the entire time. You don't have to love Nix and the offense of Denver to love this Denver defense in this matchup here, which I believe will dominate the line of scrimmage and give them an opportunity to win this game.
You look at the quarterback props here. If you go side by side, Bo Nix is passing prop 218.5 live. Jake Browning 219.5 on the live number. Both of these guys, of course, listed at 1.5 touchdown passes. The juice a little bit different. Bo Nix a minus 114 and Jake Browning at a plus 172. And again, last week they were so poor against the Minnesota Vikings on the road. They're on the road again. The only way you can go is up because it just can't be that bad. But, Joe, as you pointed out, you can't turn the football over. But it just seems like Jake Browning will throw touchdown passes and will throw maybe touchdown interceptions going the other way. If we look at the touchdown prop scoring market tonight, I do like J.K. Dobbins. I think it's a pretty good shot where that's a bad defense. We'll have multiple chances in the red zone. He gets one of those. But if you take a look at the plus money numbers, Chase Brown plus 130, Cortland Sutton plus 130, Jamar Chase plus 175, R.J. Harvey plus 240. Looking at soon going some pay dirt action, Joe. Where do you go tonight?
Yeah, well, the only problem with Chase is Surtain is going to be all over him. We know that, which might open up the opportunity for maybe a T. Higgins situation here. Might not be worth a look here. But I do think Troy Franklin, maybe a little bit higher on the board, not a bad look as he has clearly become a favorite there of Bo Nix and Denver. But to me, if you're going running backs, Dobbins is going to get his opportunities, make no mistake about it. And I don't trust that Cincinnati defense. So Dobbins would be my choice. A little chalky, but it feels like he's going to find pay dirt here tonight.
Like the expectation is a loss tonight for the Bengals. The favorite says it over a touchdown. So do we see any extra yards in that fourth quarter? Like Jamar Chase is 63.5. T. Higgins is 51.5. You go down the list. Let's see who else here. Yoshivas at 11.5. Is there a guy that you might be targeting from the Bengals side of things? Because for me, I look at the Denver Broncos. They'll be up, but you're probably throwing it all over the lot. Who can surprise you tonight for the Bengals?
Yeah, well, the Bengals are going to need somebody to step up here. Preferably, it would be great if they could actually run the ball and take some pressure off of Browning. But I just don't see that happening. So it's got to be Chase has got to be able to get away from Surtain. If it ain't him, I think it's got to be all about T. Higgins, who will have favorable matchups every place else on the field. So pick your poison, Denver. You're stopping Chase, you're going to stop Higgins. I don't think they can stop them both simultaneously here.
I'll tell you what's an interesting price point in this game. You go into the rushing props and not even looking at Chase Brown or J.K. Dobbins like the two lead dogs here. Jake Browning is listed at 9.5 as a rushing prop. You say, wait a second. Game number 1 against Jacksonville, 1 carry for 1 yard on the quarterback sneak. Game 2 against Minnesota, 1 carry for 3 yards here. Why would it be 10? Are we looking at, Joe, that offensive line is so bad that he's just going to have creases where he has to run and get out of there? Because for a guy that doesn't average much yards, getting the 10 marker, it seems like an easy but maybe hard contribution. I actually think he gets it, Joe. Give me over 10 for Jake Browning on the ground tonight. Let's surprise the people.
He will be at times running for his life, Donnie, so it's not a big ask, that's for sure, with that number.
Rolling for 2 hours is what we do specifically on a Monday right here on the Early Line on the Sports Grid Network. Armchair Quarterback. Get you caught up on what's going to happen tonight, but also go back to this weekend's action like we did in college football and also the NFL to get you that information that you need to know. Donnie Rightside and Joe Raineri, but at this time, we like to reach out to the people and find out what they are talking about on a specific question that we asked. Here's Fade the Public. Doubleheader on a Monday night in the NFL. Who says no? Not me, not Joe Raineri. And here's the question that we asked on our Sports Grid account on X. If you're not following it, you're doing something wrong because we ask questions on a day-to-day basis to get your feedback. The question that was asked today, and the answers we needed were, what is your best bet for tonight's Monday Night Football doubleheader? 4 options. Miami -2.5, the Jets +2.5. Game number 2, the Denver Broncos -7.5, and the Cincinnati Bengals +7.5. For me, Joe, I actually went Dolphins -2.5. Home team, off a break, should be able to beat the Jets. Don't love it, but that's where I voted. But the public, their favorite pick tonight, Denver Broncos -7.5. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, no, my best bet would be with the Jets here. So I am in agreement here because Miami is this is not a team or an organization that seems to be on the right track. Both teams dealing with injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but I trust Aaron Glenn to figure some things out here on the defensive side of the ball more than I believe McDaniel's going to figure anything out with the Dolphins. So, yeah, I'd take the 2.5 points, and the public loves Miami, but we ain't getting a field goal here, Donnie. It will never get to -3 as far as I can see.
Stephen Ross, owner of the Dolphins, Joe, before that game against the Buffalo Bills, goes, look, I'm not really looking to fire anybody at this point. Like, I'm going to need some, relative results. They got some results. They played close to Buffalo, and he survived another week. Is there a chance, Joe, that the Miami Dolphins at home on Monday Night Football lose to the Jets, that McDaniel will be fired after this game? Is there a chance of that if they lose?
I think it's how they lose, Donnie. I think that's the big thing, is how are they going to lose this game here? Either way, it's not looking good for the Dolphins and him anyway moving forward. So, maybe you just wait until the end, let it play out. I mean, who are they beating anyway, the Dolphins? Let's be realistic here. So maybe it's just that, let it play it out and you're good to go. Unless they get absolutely blown out by the Jets tonight.
Yep, we'll find out the way it goes. We'll see those 2 games finish tonight. But also, you know what the time of the show is? It's bye. It's Joe and it's Donnie. We are absolutely red hot right now. Bring on the picks, people. Two and oh. That's the only acceptable option. By the way, the last month or so of these bye picks, absolutely on fire. What do we got tonight, Joe?
All right, so Donnie, listen, these are 2 Monday Night Football games in perfect teaser position. And here's why.
Yeah.
You've got 2 games, 1 game with the Jets and Dolphins in which I can get over a touchdown. And here's the key. The total is 44 points. So I've got a low total and I'm getting over a touchdown. In fact, 8.5 points by teasing the Jets up. I will do that because I think the Jets are a live dog anyway. And then the Broncos. I am not running to the window to expect them to win by more than a touchdown against anybody. But at home tonight, I do believe with that defense, they will win this game. So teasing them down to 1.5, again, in a total game that is 44.5? Low total, just asking Denver to win. I like the 2-team teaser tonight.
We like to keep it simple here on this program every morning and pick winners here. I'm going to tell you about J.K. Dobbins. How about this? Game number 1 against the Titans, 1 touchdown. Game number 2 against the Colts, 1 touchdown. Game number 3 against the Chargers, 1 touchdown. Your boy DRS, J.K. Dobbins tonight, anytime touchdown market at a -140. He scores again tonight, and we cash in this ticket. Joe and Donnie say, don't overthink things here. Take the obvious, grab the low-hanging fruit. Let's win another bet here and go 2-0 tonight. I'm confident tonight, Joe. The stars are aligned once again to get this weekend started in style, and I do believe we're getting a 2-0 tonight. I really believe that.
I agree, Donnie. I think these games might be a little bit closer than those that think they're going to be, but ultimately, you got 2 games on Monday Night Football, Donnie. You got to love it.